The National Electrical Code, or NEC, does not prohibit the use of multiple circuits in a single outlet box. This is provided that each circuit has its own grounding conductor connected to a grounding terminal or bar. According to NEC Section 404.14, a general rule states for each circuit that supplies an outlet intended for general purpose use, the grounding conductor shall be connected to a grounding terminal or bar in the outlet box. This means that if you have two duplex outlets in a single 4-outlet utility box, and each duplex outlet is wired to different circuit breakers from different power panels, it can meet code if properly grounded. Each circuit must have its own equipment grounding conductor. This conductor must be connected to the grounding terminal or bar within the outlet box. The grounding ensures that any fault current will safely return to the source, tripping the circuit breaker and preventing electrical shock. Consider a scenario where you have two 120-volt circuits, each originating from a separate breaker in your electrical panel. You wish to install two duplex receptacles within a single junction box. Firstly, you would run both circuits, each consisting of a hot, neutral, and ground wire, to the junction box. Secondly, you would connect the hot and neutral wires of each circuit to its respective receptacle. Crucially, each circuit's ground wire must be independently connected to the grounding terminal or a grounding bar inside the junction box. This ensures that each circuit has its own dedicated grounding path. Now let's talk about an exception. The NEC has an exception to this rule, and it applies to receptacles installed in bathrooms, kitchens, and other wet or damp locations. In these specific locations, all receptacles must be supplied by a single branch circuit, in accordance with NEC Section 406.4 d. This requirement is in place to minimize the risk of electric shock in areas where water is present. For example, if you're wiring a bathroom, all the outlets in that bathroom must be on the same circuit. You cannot run one outlet to one circuit breaker and another outlet to a different circuit breaker. They all need to be on the same circuit. There are several reasons for limiting bathroom and kitchen circuits to a single branch circuit. One is to reduce the potential for ground faults. If multiple circuits are present in a wet location, a ground fault on one circuit could create a dangerous voltage potential between different grounded surfaces connected to different circuits. Secondly, it simplifies ground fault circuit interrupter, or GFCI, protection. By having all receptacles on a single circuit, a single GFCI device can protect all outlets, reducing the risk of electrical shock. GFCI protection is required in bathrooms, kitchens, and other damp locations. The NEC specifies requirements for outlet box fill, which dictates the maximum number of conductors, devices, and fittings allowed in an outlet box. This is to prevent overcrowding and ensure adequate space for heat dissipation and safe connections. The volume of the outlet box must be sufficient for the number of conductors, devices, and fittings contained within it. The NEC provides tables and calculations to determine the minimum box volume required based on the size and number of conductors and devices. Overfilling an outlet box can lead to overheating, damaged insulation, and potentially hazardous conditions. When working with electrical systems, always follow safe work practices. Before working on any electrical circuit, always turn off the power at the circuit breaker. Use a voltage tester to verify that the circuit is de-energized before touching any wires or terminals. Wear appropriate personal protective equipment, including safety glasses and insulated gloves. If you are not comfortable working with electricity, it's always best to hire a qualified electrician. They have the knowledge, skills, and experience to perform electrical work safely and in accordance with the NEC. The NEC is a comprehensive set of standards, and it is updated regularly to reflect changes in technology and best practices. It's important to stay up to date on the latest edition of the NEC to ensure that your electrical work meets current code requirements. Local jurisdictions may have additional requirements or amendments to the NEC. Always check with your local building department or electrical inspector to ensure that your work complies with all applicable codes and regulations. Proper grounding is crucial for electrical safety. The grounding system provides a low impedance path for fault current to return to the source, tripping the circuit breaker and preventing electrical shock. The grounding system consists of the grounding electrode conductor, the equipment grounding conductor, and the grounded conductor. The grounding electrode conductor connects the grounding system to a grounding electrode, such as a ground rod or water pipe. The equipment grounding conductor provides a path for fault current to return to the source from metal enclosures and equipment. The grounded conductor, also known as the neutral conductor, is intentionally grounded at the service entrance. When using multiple circuits in a single outlet box, it is important to ensure that each circuit has its own dedicated equipment grounding conductor connected to the grounding terminal or bar within the box. This ensures that each circuit has a separate and independent grounding path. If you have any questions or concerns about electrical safety or NEC compliance, consult with a qualified electrician or electrical inspector. They can provide expert advice and guidance to ensure that your electrical work is safe and compliant. Remember that electrical work can be dangerous, and it's important to take all necessary precautions to protect yourself and others. Always follow safe work practices and consult with qualified professionals when needed. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine you're installing a new kitchen island with 2 duplex receptacles. You decide to run 2 separate 20-amp circuits to the island, each originating from a different breaker in your electrical panel. Both circuits are 120 volts. Within the junction box under the island, you install 2 duplex receptacles, one connected to each circuit. To comply with the NEC, you must ensure that each circuit has its own dedicated equipment grounding conductor, and that each grounding conductor is connected to the grounding terminal or bar inside the junction box. This setup is acceptable under the NEC, as long as you adhere to the grounding requirements and the other applicable codes and regulations. Now consider a situation where you're installing a new bathroom vanity with 2 receptacles. In this case, the NEC requires that all receptacles in the bathroom be supplied by a single branch circuit. You cannot run one receptacle to one circuit breaker and another receptacle to a different circuit breaker. They must all be on the same circuit. This is to minimize the risk of electrical shock in the wet environment of a bathroom. When working with multiple circuits, it is important to label them clearly. This will help you identify the correct circuit when performing maintenance or troubleshooting. Use a permanent marker or label maker to clearly identify each circuit at the circuit breaker panel and at the outlet box. This will prevent confusion and ensure that you're working on the correct circuit. Furthermore, proper wire management within the outlet box is crucial for safety and code compliance. Neatly arrange the wires within the box to prevent overcrowding and ensure that the connections are secure. Use wire connectors that are appropriate for the size and type of conductor being used. Avoid twisting or kinking the wires, as this can damage the insulation and create potential hazards. Remember, the NEC is a minimum standard, and it's always best to exceed the requirements whenever possible. For example, you might consider using a larger outlet box than required to provide more space for wiring and heat dissipation. Or, you might consider using a higher quality grounding system to provide enhanced protection against electrical shock. Always consult with a qualified electrician or electrical inspector if you have any questions or concerns about electrical safety or code compliance. They can provide expert advice and guidance to ensure that your electrical work is safe, compliant, and meets your specific needs. Proper electrical work is essential for the safety and well-being of yourself, your family, and your property. Take the time to learn about the NEC and other applicable codes and regulations, and always follow safe work practices. If you're not comfortable performing electrical work yourself, don't hesitate to hire a qualified electrician. They have the knowledge, skills, and experience to do the job right. In summary, the NEC allows multiple circuits in a single outlet box, provided that each circuit has its own grounding conductor connected to a grounding terminal or bar. An exception to this rule exists for receptacles installed in bathrooms, kitchens, and other wet or damp locations, where all receptacles must be supplied by a single branch circuit. Always follow safe work practices and consult with qualified professionals when needed.